Good morning, Marysville. You're watching Charger Chat. For those who are joining us for the first time, Charger Chat is our local show. We talk with amazing people from around Marysville in our local area. We are your hosts, Roberson.
I'm Brandon.
And today here with us is Eugene Capon. Capon. I want to pronounce it like French. And you're a visual effect artist. You're a visual effects artist, a motion designer, and professional YouTuber.
I am. I'm all those things.
And a vlogger, as you were showing us beforehand. So I really want to start out with your background, because I know we have a lot of artistic students here at our school. Emily Petrie, who's working behind the scenes, is definitely an artistic one. But what inspired you to pursue art?
To be honest, I got out of high school and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was completely lost. And I feel like that's a very natural thing for almost anybody coming out of high school. And I was talking to my mom and she said, I'll pay for 2 quarters, just go to college, take whatever you want. And I met with a counselor, got some guidance, and I told him, I was like, I want to be an artist. And he goes, okay, we can send you up for art classes. And I was like, but I don't want to be broke living at home all my life. And he's like, okay, you want to be a commercial artist. And I signed up for some graphic design classes. And it really resonated with me as like building something and learning typography and visual design and juxtaposition and color theory. And, 12 years later, here I am.
So, but there had to be something that led up to that, I want to be an artist statement. What led up to that? What made you want that?
Well, when I was a kid, I liked to draw, I liked to paint. I was really good at like PE and art. Like those are my classes I just kicked butt at. And I really think it was just a general progression. It wasn't just like I woke up one day and went, this is what I want to do. It was opportunities would be thrown my way. I would take them and I would really test and see what I liked. And as the more I tested, the more I realized this is for me. This is being a YouTuber and creating motion design art and making people like their heads explode on camera, or animating, cartoon cats eating Pop-Tarts. I mean, that's really what resonates with me as an artist and as a person even. Like, now that I've been doing this for 12 years, I cannot see myself doing anything else. I think if I went back to like managing the movie theater here in town, I would probably get really, really depressed over my life. But those are the sort of jobs and those are the sort of like experiences you have to build up to the person that you're eventually going to become.
So cool.
So did you get into graphic arts only because it would pay more, or was it just like, was that something that was really interesting to you?
No, it was after I took those like first couple classes, I was hooked, man. It was like, some people experiment with drugs. I got to experiment with art. I mean,
I guess that's a good analogy.
And it's
much better option.
Yeah, and it's just as expensive. Trust me. So and when you do one form of art, you start to explore others. So like when I went to college for like graphic design, I learned web design, which means I also had to learn how to code. and I had to learn visual layout for mobile devices and digital signage. And because flash animation was a thing at the time, it's not now, but when it was, I got to learn cartooning and animation. And then from there, I learned filmmaking. And it's just been like one general progression all my life.
So cool.
Right after college, was there like, did you get right into a job, or was it like a struggle trying to find somewhere?
Oh, it was a struggle, man. There was like, after I got out of college the first time, there was like a year and a half where I was struggling to take any work whatsoever. And it's just because I didn't have like that portfolio to show like, hey, I'm really, really good, because once you've seen one college portfolio, you've seen them all. I mean, they're all the same projects.
Yeah.
It's when you start taking client work, and trust me, you are going to be grabbing for client work at like any cost to try to build up that initial portfolio. But after about a year and a half, I ended up getting this like internship at a company called Curiosity. And I rocked that internship. I worked 70 hours a week for free, Monday through Friday. Their offices were 2 hours away from my home, which means Monday through Friday I slept on the couch in the lobby. But when it was all said and done, and they were positioning to grow, during my internship, had I created all these like really interesting ways to use their technology, which they hadn't done before. I rebranded their company, rebuilt their website, and redid their logo. And they already had artists on board. That was the funny thing. So by the time I was done with my internship, I became the head of their creative department.
That's really cool.
There's honestly nothing that can really trump a passion.
It's not just passion. It's the willing to put in the time early on, knowing that it's going to pay off later. And sometimes you don't even know that it's going to pay off later. But if you put in that time, it'll better you no matter what, even if other people aren't going to see it.
So
Since
speaking of your portfolio, every artist, especially graphic artists, have their own unique style, a very distinct style, and there has to be something that definitely stands out about your artwork and your work that you've done. But is there a way that you would describe your own personal style, your own twist that you put into things?
I think it's probably a fair mix of comedy and data visualization. I mean, if you've ever looked at art done by like Ash Thorpe, G Monk, Mike DeLaQuest, they're all incredibly visual artists. I mean, like G Monk did the new Windows logo. So when you open up like a Windows computer and you see that like Windows logo with the light passing through it, I mean, that was something he did right after working on doing all the UI stuff for the Avengers. Or like Ash Thorpe, who did all the system designing and UI UX design inside of the film for like Total Recall, the new one. Those are artists that really resonate with me, and therefore I actively take the time to study their work, re-engineer what they do, and then add it to my own arsenal. And then if you look at my YouTube videos, there's a lot of like visual design in there. There's a lot of like lower thirds, a lot of animated intros, animated outros. But I always try to like include some sort of, oh, what the heck am I looking at comedy? So like Pop-Tart cats committing suicide, which is really dark. But it's part of my own personal humor that I try to bring out in my work.
Something to grab the viewer.
Well, it's really not. It's I'm a big fan of the 3 Trump and then finish story arc as far as like visual comedy for YouTube videos go.
Roll of threes.
Yeah.
Magic roll of threes.
So after your internship that you said you did like really good at, did that company hire you after your internship, or did you go somewhere else?
No, they hired me. I ended up with a about a year and a half contract. And then they moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and I decided to stay here. So I stayed active just by freelancing for about a year. Took a contract, did some movie stuff, and then I decided to go back and get my bachelor's for what I like to call YouTube studies.
And because I don't think we mentioned it for our viewers who might not be aware, a YouTuber is a colloquial term, is a general term for someone who does basically content creating and producing on YouTube. It's not, for some people, it's not a very well-known term. But, man.
Once you got right out of the internship, or like once you got out of college until now, do you think you've grown like a little bit, or like is it massive?
I feel like every year, I'm always putting myself into situations that I can not be the smartest person in the room. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You always want to be in a place where you can learn from the people around you. And if you're not learning, you're not growing. I've always made a point to either try to join active communities, such as if you're a YouTuber, for instance, there's a Seattle YouTube creators group that you can join, and there are some people who are very, very good at what they do, and then there's a bunch of people who are, you know, just entering the space for the first time, and, you know, asking questions and trying to learn, and those are the sort of communities you need to be involved in when you're trying to grow as any kind of artist.
Yeah, that is so cool. And when we come back, we're talking with Eugene Capon, and when we come back, we'll be talking a lot more about your career and what you do on YouTube. But right now, we're going to transition into our first segment, which is called Red Riding Hood.
Take this magical ball to your grandmother, Little Red Riding Hood, to make her better. Be safe on your journey.
But look what we have here. Little Red Riding Hood. And a ball!
Please don't hurt me, Mr. Wolf. I'm just trying to bring this ball to my grandmother. It has magical healing properties. I just need to bring this to her. Please let me pass.
I need that ball. To heal my pups.
It's not nice to guilt trip people.
Okay, hey. Oh dear. Wonderful child. Get here.
So nice to see you, grandmother. How are you feeling?
I'll be feeling much better once you give me the ball, yes?
But grandmother, your eyes, they seem larger. Is something wrong?
What? All the better to see you, my dear.
But grandmother, your nose, it's grown as well. Is something wrong?
Oh, some things happen when you get old. You know.
Grandmother, your teeth, they've grown as well. What is this illness? I've never seen it before.
Oh, my teeth, all the better to sink my teeth into that bowl, you, my dear.
You're that wolf again. What have you done with my grandmother, then? Where is she?
My dear? My dear?
Grandmother, the wolf impersonated you. I thought you were dead.
Wolf? Oh, that silly little dog up to his tricks again. Give Grandma a hug.
Grandmother, I brought you the orb, but the wolf took it. How am I going to heal you now?
Oh, dearie, the orb was a ball for the dog, and a ploy to get you over here. You never talk to me anymore. You never visit. But I brought you a puppy. Can you make me some chicken soup?
Grandmother, I don't have time for this.
Oh, you never have time for your grandma anymore?
Good morning, Charger Chat, and welcome back. We're here with Eugene Capon, and who works a lot with visual effects and graphic art and design and all sorts of things. And one of the things that you've done, actually you just moved away from a company recently, but I don't know how to explain this, but as you work as a YouTube consultant and a VFX artist, like when you worked with clients, what did that mean when you worked with them?
Oh, you mean when I was at Press Play?
Yeah.
So Press Play was kind of a unique opportunity I took. For a year and a half, I was their art director, and I got to work with a lot of clients, mostly in the real estate world. But what that actually meant was I had to set terms and conditions for when projects actually got done. It means I worked with clients to figure out, what their budget was, what they could actually afford, and scale projects accordingly. And what that really meant was, as an art director, you do the initial walk-in and client paperwork. You do this thing called a creative brief, where you get all the information from the client, including their logo, their colors, their where's all this content that's being produced going, and then you schedule dates, and then you do the work, and then you have an end date, and then you deliver, and then if they're a great client, they pay you. And then that's really what it is. It's just walking through the entire pipeline of a project, and that it didn't really matter if it was like a web project or a video project or a logo project. The process, though, you may be working with a few extra people if you're doing, say, commercial work versus like a logo branding deal.
So what made you pull away from that and decide to put more of an emphasis and a focus on your own content producing on YouTube? What made you pull away from that?
At the end of the day, you got to do what makes you happy. And I had, been with Press Play for about a year and a half. And I got to tell you, they have one of the best cultures in the company I have ever met. But a lot of the people who worked in that general area didn't understand the technology side of things the way I do. And again, I wanted to be not the smartest person in the room, so I could keep learning. And if you're not learning, you're being stagnant, and that's never a good place to be. So, and when things become, at a very plateaued space, that's when you got to figure out what your next move is, and you got to go.
So out of all of the things you've done, what's your greatest moment or achievement?
Because we read on your website you've been in plenty of different publications and you do a lot on your YouTube. But yeah, what do you find the greatest honor?
So this is actually kind of corny. When I was an intern at Curiosity back in the day, a friend of mine, Joseph Clift, him and this gentleman by the name of Pat Mest, they wrote a movie. And they called me up because they knew I was working on graphic design and stuff, and they asked for a motion intro. And I had never used After Effects before. And so I learned After Effects in 2 weeks, and I built them this intro, this 5 to 8 second intro, and it got used in this movie that actually went to the Wazoo International Film Festival and was the headliner. And I got to go sit on that panel, and I got to act as thug number 2 in this really low budget college movie where even though it was a really low budget college movie, it was fantastically well written. And now I believe he works over at DreamWorks.
Oh, that's
Oh.
cool.
Yeah. But it like I said, it's those experiences that you have to jump on and you take that really help mold you. I feel like if I didn't take that opportunity, I wouldn't have been able to feel like working on a movie was something I would want to do for the rest of my life. And because I worked on that movie and I got to be part of that panel, I was like, this is amazing. This is such a rush. How can I do this for the rest of my life? And shortly after, I got in touch with a buddy of mine, Benji Travis, who I believe was a guest here at one point. Or at least that's what somebody told me earlier today. And I was like, you gotta tell me about this YouTube thing, man. And he's like, well, here's everything. He took like 2 hours out of his day and just like ran me through the entire process. And I put like a $1,500 camera on my credit card, which is something you should never do. I don't recommend it. And I just started making shorts. And soon after, I ended up getting interviews with like Ron Jeremy, Phoenix Jones, the Stax Brothers. I was the first person to jump off their stage for a video in like a decade, which was awesome. And I started like building all these really awesome connections because I had found this like passion for video production and just a new medium for visual expression.
So cool.
It sounds like if you don't know how to do something, you're totally up to learning how to do it.
I'm one of those people who will like, if I don't know something, I will, or if somebody else doesn't know something, I'll spend 20 minutes to like learn it, and then I'll be able to teach it to somebody in 10 minutes or less. Just because, you know, Google's a thing. And everybody's making content on YouTube, and there's a real value to going through the process of an education, but basically what that whole education really teaches you is it gives you the ability to learn, not the ability to have more knowledge, or if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you teach yourself the ability to learn, you are always going to be in a great place to stay ahead of the curve.
Now, you mentioned going into YouTube, and I know it's a great place for content producers, but is it really viable now as a career option? I know a lot of people have gotten pretty big off of it, got a couple billion subscribers, but with the market so flooded, with so many people trying to get in, is it really a viable option anymore for a newbie?
So, absolutely. But you, just like anything that you want to turn into a job, you have to put in the time, you have to hustle. Like, I'm at a place where I can finally take sponsorships, but for the first like 3 years of me doing this, nobody would even talk to me. And that's perfectly fine. And when I was doing Comic Shop TV for 4 years, I put so much money into it that I won't say I lost money, because I definitely got experience out of it, but I produced probably 180 videos in a 4-year span just to, you know, make one thing work. And we finally closed it down like a month ago, and I started a new channel called Capon Design TV, CAPON Design TV, and I do like art pieces and vlogging on that channel, and it already has more subscribers in 4 months than my other channel had in 4 years. And so you never know what is actually going to take and what's actually going to work. But just going through the process of having a channel for 4 years made me really good at visual production and running that flow for like low budget projects.
It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, we're going to have to take a break. We'll be back with Eugene Capon after this.
What is that?
my god. It's an oak stick. Woo! Onward! Is that a plane? I wonder what else is over there. That's so cool. I'm gonna touch it. What? I wonder where everyone's going. What's going on? Hello? Hello? Why isn't anyone answering me? I think it's time to go home now.
Good morning, Marysville, and welcome back to Charger Chat. We're here with Eugene Capon, who works with visual effects and graphic design and illustration and YouTube and everything. And
Can I just say that piece was absolutely amazing? I want to rewatch it, but like with the sound turned up.
and that's what we wanted to ask about, is because you mentioned to us that you do tutorials on your channel and stuff, but what are some critiques that you would say?
So there's like I realize that's a piece done by like high school kids, and it's actually, the compositions of a lot of the shots are just absolutely phenomenal. I think you guys really nailed it. For some of the other shots, like there's obviously a lot of stuff that needed to be color corrected. For a couple of the earlier shots, you probably could have used a diffuse, which would create a more even scale of lighting over the subject. And then I guess for the was that a ship? Was that a drone? What
It was
that?
something that flies.
Something that flies. I would probably actually track it to the scene, so when the camera moves around, there isn't like a visual disconnect, because that's going to throw the viewer out of like the reality of what you're trying to create.
For the ship, is there a way to make it shaded the same as because a lot of the stuff stands out when you do green screen. Is there a way easily to make it shaded the same, or make it seem like it fits in with the coloring?
So I probably would not have green screened it. I probably would have actually brought in a model into After Effects and used a plugin called Element 3D, and then used a sphere around the 3D model, as long as the material was reflective, to basically reflect the scene that's already there, or give it a sense of like being in that space, even though it's clearly not. But if you guys are sticking with doing green screen stuff, I probably would have duplicated the background layer, put a mask over it to the shape of the ship, and then whenever the ship moved around, you'd have a very slight gradient of the background over it, and as just like a quick way of trying to make that work. And then again, color corrected into the scene. Your footage was very blue in some, and then very orange in another. And then I would probably spend time to just make it look all very uniform.
Well, it was at least interesting. Now back to questions about you. What made you want to get into YouTube?
Like I said before, when I worked on Justice Memory Loads and I did the panel and stuff, that was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And since then, it's just been this ride. I mean, I'm technically on my 3rd YouTube channel, and I started from scratch again. And it's just, when you get to a point where you realize something isn't working, it's time to refresh. I know a lot of even big name YouTubers who are like abandoning their channels that have like 1 million subscribers to go start something new and do something fresh. I think Ray William Johnson is a perfect example of that. He was working at Maker Studio, and they tried to
There's a lot of drama with Maker Studio that we don't need to get into.
Yeah, I think the company's a little bit better now that Disney took over, because Disney owns Maker Studio.
There was a lot of beef around that.
Yeah, but he started his own production company after, and then moved. Then once things settled, he moved Equals 3 and put somebody else in charge of that, so him and his girlfriend could run a podcast together, and I think that's absolutely great. I mean, it's just because you have a huge audience, or you have something that is working, it might not be best for you, and that's perfectly okay to say, hey, I'm not happy doing this anymore, even though other people might not understand it. It's time to go do something new or to start fresh.
Do you prefer, because I know your portfolio includes not just the motion and animation and stuff, but you also include illustrations and you do logo design. Do you prefer one or the other, motion or illustration, or do you prefer one?
I prefer probably taking animation and laying it inside of the real world. It's almost like Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a huge influence to me. So I had a piece I put up not too long ago called Laser Dinosaurs at the Office. And it's literally a 30-second piece where you just have this office. It's a real office. And then you have cartoon dinosaurs running around in office suits or little shirts and ties with lasers shooting out of their faces. But because they're dinosaurs, they don't understand why it's happening. And they're just freaking out the whole time. And so, again, I feel something like that is really a mix of doing animation work and putting in a real video or into live photos that somebody else has taken, and then adding some sort of visual comedy to it. And it's projects like that. It didn't get a whole lot of views, but it personally made me really happy to do that.
How do you come up with ideas like that? When do you find that you're at your most creative?
1:30 in the morning when I'm in bed and can't fall asleep. I try to keep black composition books next to my bed and a stack of pens, and because I will holy crap, that's an amazing idea. I'll wake up, spring out of bed, turn on the light, open up the book, start sketching. I'm okay, that's out of my head. Okay, now there's this other thing, and I won't fall asleep until 3, 4 in the morning, just because I'm sketching out ideas, or I'm writing business manuals, or doing some sort of creative exploration piece. I've recently started taking to Instagram, and I've been trying to put out something every day. I need to make something for today and for yesterday, but I'm doing a lot of geometric space art, or tiny animation pieces that I've done in an hour maybe. And from there, it's those little things that are making me really, really happy. And it's other, I can't really pick one. I love it all, and it all has its place. But
Oh man, it's been so awesome to talk with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure.
And on Charger Chat, I don't know quite how much time we have, but on Charger Chat, we always like to give the chance for our guests to say the last few words. Do you want to? Anything more?
Absolutely. You know what? Life is a crazy ride. Take as many opportunities as you can, and just know whatever your plan at 18 or 17 and 18, it will be completely different at 27 or 28. And then it will change again when you hit your 30s. Life is never set in stone, and just spend as much time as you can exploring and growing and learning in all the opportunities that may come your way.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
This has been Charger Chat. Thank you, Marysville. I've been Roberson.
I'm Brandon.
And this has been Eugene Capon.
Hi.